This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Waid, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Hey everyone, if you're tuning in, this is your first episode. Just want to give you a quick heads up. This episode is kind of a special, and I wanted you to know before the audio is not as perfect because it's an impromptu of me and my wife as we're driving to see Birds of Prey in the car, and then when we get back and we kind of just chat spoiler free. So this is a spoiler free discussion, but it's kind of fun to do things like this because we don't get the time, her and I, as much anymore.
All right, I'm in the car, which is one of those rare special things that happens every now and then. And plus, it's the only way I can track down the lovely, the ever-present, my best friend, the Lois Lane to my Clark Kent, the most beautiful woman in all the land, the Junia. Hi, Junia.
Hey, what's up?
So this is like our special, we are on our way to the Thursday night showing of Birds of Prey, the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Reviews seem to be like positive. The one thing that I haven't seen in the reviews is kind of just talking about the characterizations of the Birds of Prey. Like, we already know that Margot Robbie's gonna kick butt because she did such a great job as Harley in Suicide Squad, and I want to point out the extended cut of Suicide Squad just because there were some more scenes that were added that helped showcase her. Harleen is what I'm going to use to determine pre-Harley Quinn. And so we know that she's going to rock it, and she already did a great job with the character.
Yes.
So it's really about how well they do these other characters, you know? And if you don't know, there was a Birds of Prey show in the early 2000s. It was kind of a companion show with Smallville that only lasted, there's one season available, it's on DC Universe. It didn't even air the full season, and there was, the twist in that was Harley Quinn was going to be the villain revealed, and it's a very subtle Harley Quinn that was in there. And then of course we got robbed of our live action Harley Quinn on Arrow. There's a behind the scenes photo, Google it. And then we had our proto Echo Harley wannabe on the crazy what the heck is this show of Gotham. So, you know, Margot is really our first full-fledged live-action Harley Quinn. But my fear is just the other characters. Will they be really true to who they're supposed to be? We got a Huntress, Helena. You know, we saw her on Arrow. That's been our only other live-action Huntress, other than the Earth 2 version that we got on Birds of Prey, which was, you know, Helena Wayne, or Helena, one of those names, Kara.
Right.
I'm more accustomed to the orphan version of Cassandra Cain, the brutal ninja, you know, can't speak, learns to speak later on character. Montoya is going to be interesting at being an older Montoya. And then, of course, we're versed on different forms of Dinah Drake, Dinah Laurel Lance, Dinah Lance, Black Canary. You know, we've had a version 2 kind of versions, 3 versions from Arrow. You know, we had Dinah Drake, kind of. Dinah Drake, their mother, but wasn't a canary. Then they kind of split the Laurel Lance and the Dinah Lance kind of into Sarah with, you know, on Arrow. And then we had Dinah Lance on Smallville. So we've had some live action canaries going on. But the one thing that's kind of got me iffy is, to me, the Birds of Prey isn't complete without Oracle or Batgirl. And that's a big deal for me. Now, Janine, you talk for a little bit.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of boring in the aspect that, like, I don't have a whole lot of expectations fantastic. She'll be great. I am interested to see what they do with the character. I find it interesting that she's a part of the Birds of Prey concept, as in like a group of Birds of Prey, and I would like to see what her role is really fully. So I've not read up on this very much, so I don't have a whole lot to go off of as far as like reviews or anything like that, but I'm excited to see what happens. Yeah, I'm trying to keep myself open-minded to the storyline, and I'm interested to see what kind of direction they take her character in with this film. So.
And then let's touch on the other character that excites us, Ewan McGregor.
Oh gosh, yeah, Black Mask.
right there, like, Black Mask has never been done. Well, Roman Sionis has never been done live action. They did a pre-Roman kind of character on Gotham that Phil and Kelly and I interviewed way back when in the first season of Before the Bat podcast, played by the awesome Mr. Todd Stashwick. Check that out. And so I think Ewan is such an amazing actor. I love him in everything I've ever seen him in.
Yep.
He carried the prequel Star Wars movies on his back.
Yep.
He is a beloved treasure.
Yep.
So I think he's going to do great. I think he'll bring the energy of creating something that could easily just be a mob boss who wears a black mask.
Yeah.
I think he'll have an energy to him, and I'm looking forward to that. I think we're going to have fun with the movie. We're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one of those afterwards, do we think, well, was that true to the comic? Was that true to the spirit of the characters? Or was it just a good time with these people who happen to have these names?
I feel like it's going to be more along that line. Like, if I had any kind of a preconception, that would be it. Like, and that's why I'm trying to go in with an open mind in seeing this film, because I don't necessarily think that it's going to be in line with what we know of the characters from the comics. So, but hey, I mean, that's kind of the cool part about when they make these films, when they make, you know, all of the shows on CW and everything. We're not necessarily getting like exactly true to the comics. We're getting these really new, refreshed, cool storylines, you know, with these characters that we love so much. You know, as long as we have like the core values in place and the core characteristics in place, you know, of these characters, you know, we can't really be all that upset. I understand we've got a lot of diehard fans out there for the comics, and that's awesome. But I mean, let's just think of it in a way of, you know, this is just a new story that we get to hear, and that's kind of exciting, you know, because we are fans, and now we get to see it on the big screen, which is pretty dope.
This is why I love you. This is why I love her, guys. I mean, she's exactly right. I mean, how many times has a character been rebooted, retooled, and done differently in the comics, and we roll with it or go with it? I mean, we might have some complaints, but that's the nature of the storytelling, and that's why, like she said, like, is it true enough to the spirit? Is it there to be like, okay, I can see that character?
Yeah.
You know, or they can develop more, like, you know, sometimes we're introduced to these characters in different times where they're building up to be the character that we love. So yeah, the open-mindedness is great. I mean, is with a lot of these movies, I've said this multiple times on the different movies we've filmed, is we go into the film expecting that to be the definitive version of our character from the book, and the problem is the books vary, or, you know,
There's so many different storylines out there in the comics.
yeah, and there's different ways of telling these stories.
Yeah.
You know, we expect that the film version to be, that's it, that's exactly the character in every aspect. And I mean, looking at Batman's the greatest example, just because we've had so many on-screen Batman. Everyone has its validity.
Yeah.
Everyone has a version and a value when you look at the source material and what they're taking and what they're doing. And that's why it's so hard to have that definitive Batman. People will argue it, and there's different reasons, you know, time, when we grew up, or whatever.
But we all have to remember that, like, this is an art form. And the people who, you know, construct these films and these stories, like, they're artists, you know? So not every single thing is going to fit into a certain template that we create in our minds. And it shouldn't, because it is art, you know? And how boring would it be if everything was the same? You know, how boring would it be if, you know, Harley didn't fluctuate in her characterization? You know, it's a very neat thing that we actually get to see these different concepts being played out in comics, in storytelling, and screenwriting, and, you know, all of these different things. You know, let's appreciate the fact that it's an art, you know, and appreciate the artists that create these.
Exactly. I mean, the movies are just an Elseworlds tale. If you want to look at, like, Junia and I the other night, we were watching Arrow, the finale, and, you know, I talked about how it kind of upsets me that, you know, one of the power type couples and one of Oliver's things is his strained on and off again romance love with Dinah/Laurel, and how we've had 2 live action Green Arrows and neither of them end up with the Black Canary.
Right.
Like, they both end up with a character that was kind of created on that series.
Yep.
So, you know, Jania's like, but I like him. And we kind of argued that. And I said, you know, it's like, you couldn't, like, if it wasn't Superman and Lois in the end, you got a lot of people mad. That's just one of those couples you don't mess with. Okay?
I mean, they did in the comics, though.
They did, but then eventually they got it right. They went back to it because people were pissed.
Right, exactly. But it's that play, that's that storytelling. It's the same concept of, like, taking Superman's underwear off of him and just having him in, you know...
They're trunks. Yeah, they're not...
I'm just saying... Okay, sorry, my bad. Trunks, Spanx, whatever.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean... But it's the same concept in an aspect, because that's something that, you know, is so iconic to the character that, you know, it upsets us, a lot of us, and at first, you know, but after a while we kind of get used to it.
Some people do.
It can fluctuate back and forth, and it's the art form, it's the storytelling, it's just making it their own. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You can't be mad at a film creator or a screenwriter or, you know, even a costume designer fully, because it's their way of showing their art.
Exactly. You have to understand it's an adaptation, it's an interpretation.
Yes.
You know, some things literally can't translate that well from the book page to the screen.
Right.
And then when they do, they just don't work right.
Well, I mean, you think about this. You're taking a comic book series and you're trying to condense it into a, you know, 1.5 to 2.5 hour film. You know, it's difficult to take all of that information, all that backstory, and place it into this film and have it be lining up the way that you want it to line up. So certain things have to have give and take, not just with the storyline, but with, like, I mean, the costuming even. Like, does it really make sense within the adaptation that you've had to create here?
And that's one thing I will say right now, that I'm not, like, I don't need a literal Huntress costume from the comics, because, let's face it, it's ridiculous. Like, in the comics. Like, it is the dumbest, most impractical outfit possible.
Right.
The costume that we had on Arrow, I liked.
It's cool.
It was simple. It still was true to the character. It had some themes. And right now, the Huntress costume that we're seeing in this film looks more like the kind of things they did in the early 2000s when they're like, oh, it's a comic book movie, but we don't really want to, like... She's got the costume. Kind of like in Smallville, where they're like, yeah, Clark has the costume. It's his jeans and his red jacket and blue shirt. You know, or it's like, yeah, this is their hoodie costume.
Yeah.
But we don't actually want to give them full-fledged comic book accurate costumes. And that's where I feel right now on, like, Huntress, who out of all these characters, Huntress and Black Canary actually have more comic book stapled costumes. And, you know, the costumes are part of the fun. I've said that multiple times with Titans. I get mad how little they use their costumes. How they'll just do stuff in street clothes. And I'm like, their costumes on that show are amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Harley, from what we've seen from the pictures and the, trailers and stuff, she doesn't have anything other than maybe her hair and obviously her skin and everything that looks like it's Harley Quinn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing with her now is because in the comics they've done her as the white skin like the Joker, it kind of leans into that where she kind of can be Harley Quinn without the costume because it's just her. And we'll see, because I mean, they've said that she's going to have multiple costumes and stuff in the film, and we've only really seen 2.
Okay, but let me put it to you like this. I've been looking at the Harley Quinn merchandise.
Yeah, we have.
That's out there.
Why is that, Junia?
Because our daughter, who is 2 years old, absolutely loves Harley Quinn, and we just tried to redo her bedroom in Harley Quinn-esque style, which was extremely difficult because there's like nothing out there.
It's all over-sexualized. Thanks a lot, David Ayer.
Yeah, seriously.
And a lot of comic book people. But she loves classic Harley. Just throwing that out there. The black and the red.
She does, and that is super duper hard to find. But even like the Birds of Prey stuff that's out there, merchandise-wise, you look at the clothes that are out there that, are supposed to be Harley Quinn clothes from Birds of Prey, and you can't tell that it's Harley. It's just a cool piece of clothing.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
taking it off of
the body.
The body character. Yeah, you're right.
So it doesn't really feel like that character. So that's kind of where I'm coming from too. And not that I'm, complaining about it or whatever, but it's just an interesting thought,
It totally is. I've said, like, my live action Harley, I would have liked if they would have done basically the costume of, like, I think it's Arkham City, and it was the one they also used in Escape from Arkham, and then just do her hair.
Yeah.
Instead of having, like, the mask, just do the domino mask type thing with her hair, and, the more traditional black and red leather pants with the boots and everything.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mixture, so you get more of that classic feel in there. But yeah, here we go. We're about to be at the theater, and we'll be back.
So we just got home, and it's been an adventure on that. Our car died again. But no, we wanted to finish up with this is kind of like our spoiler-free kind of thoughts and reviews. So we just got out, and I will say it was interesting. We've been to, let's see, you and I have seen all these new DC movies together since Man of Steel on opening night.
Yep.
We saw the advanced screenings of Aquaman and Shazam. We were there we saw BVS early, and we saw it on opening night.
Yeah, we did.
We were there for Man of Steel opening night. Suicide Squad opening night, and then we were here for Birds of Prey, and it was kind of shocking. There was only 10 people in the theater.
Yeah, it was very small. Yeah.
And granted, like, the original, it was showing in, I think, 2, maybe 3 screens. And we went at 8 p.m. in, like, one of the smaller theaters instead of the IMAX, so maybe there was bigger turnout there. But there was, like, 10 people in our auditorium.
Yeah, it was weird.
But it was fun, though. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the environment. I enjoyed it with you. But the movie, I liked it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with the film. It definitely takes advantage of its R rating, I think, without going too far. It has some what the moments. So some laugh out loud moments or scream out loud. A couple of times you and I were both like, oh!
Yeah. Yep.
The fight scenes were amazing.
They were fantastically choreographed. Yes.
They were shot by Chad Stahelski, who was a stunt coordinator, did all kinds of for the Matrix and everything with Keanu Reeves. Went on to direct this little movie called John Wick, John Wick 2, John Wick 3, and I think, and I'm going to say this, with him directing this little bit with Warner Brothers, I think they should tap him for the Nightwing film.
Oh my gosh,
Just
absolutely.
the kinetic movements and stunt work that he does, just the smoothness, and I think would be perfect for Nightwing.
It was so seamless and so beautifully done, honestly. There were times where, in some films I feel like it's easier to see where it's the stunt person and where it's the actor.
Yeah,
But-
you look for certain aspects, like, oh, their hood is up, or they're in this shadow, or like...
Right. But with this, it was so seamless.
Mm-hmm.
You had no idea. And I was trying to pay attention to it. I was trying to catch it, on purpose a couple times. And I'd focus in on it, and I could not tell the difference. And I'm usually not too bad at that.
We both have a good eye for stuff like that. But this movie, okay, so yes, it's called Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, but it really is a Harley Quinn movie, and it's so weird to think about just because, like, Margot Robbie was such a huge breakout of Suicide Squad, and here we are, 4 years later? Yeah, 2016 was Suicide Squad, and 4 years later, we finally get her in the follow-up to that of her character, and then she'll be in next year's The Suicide Squad. So it's so crazy that it took this long. I mean, there was like 3 different scripts. There was like a Harley Quinn movie, a Harley Quinn Joker, supposed to be like a Bonnie Clyde movie, and then there was the Gotham Sirens film that was supposed to be done, and then we ended up getting this. And it's just so interesting that, this is what we got, and not in a bad way.
No.
I'm just saying, like, it's just, and I think it was, Margot Robbie got clout for her I, Tonya, Oscar noms and stuff like that, and I think it really helped. And she's the driving factor behind this film, and every bit as great as we thought she would be. I mean, we're not going to give anything away because it's not spoilers, but everyone brought their A game.
Oh my gosh, it was a great cast.
There's only 2 characters I can say that I'm not sure how I feel about based on just the comic book counterparts I'm used to, and that's Montoya and Cassandra Cain. But for the film, they did fine. Very much enjoyed Huntress. Some of her costumes were kind of weird, but I just let it slide.
It was kind of retro in some aspects,
Yeah.
like almost like 80s retro.
Right. There was one time I thought she was wearing one of those old jumpsuits my mom used to wear. It was like she's wearing a black plastic trash bag to exercise in. I was like, Mom, did they steal your wardrobe?
That's hilarious.
She'll never listen to this.
No, but I thought it was pretty cool, to be honest with you. It was very much so like, retro, but still kind of like with a really cool, modern, fashion-forward vibe. So very fashion-forward.
Everybody's costumes were
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor looked like he was having a blast. He was amazing in the film. He played Roman very well. And like I told you, Roman's a very brutal kind of person, and I think he brought it. And
I loved the almost like split personality-esque vibe of his character, and like that dichotomy. It was like 1 second he was like this very sweet and kind of seemingly nice person, very fun person, and then the next second it was like he flipped a switch and he was just cutthroat, psychotic.
yes,
He could smile and kill someone at the same time. Very creepy.
some of the ways they moved in the film and directed certain things remind me a little bit of like Boondock Saints. Just the way they did some of the timeline stuff. I don't want to give too much away. Well, no spoilers, but I mean, it's definitely worth watching. Please check it out. Support it. And I'll say, this is how you do an all-female movie.
It was fantastic.
You know, I think sometimes when they want to do like an all-female movie, and I don't want to sound stupid saying this, but they make it like
Kind of cheesy.
yeah, and for lack of a better term right now, it's late at night, girly.
Right.
Like if you like, they want it to be like taking like, oh, we're going to take this serious and everyone enjoy it, but just be females, and then but then they make it like you say like cheesy, and when you're like, okay,
Well,
like
it's like
I'm
that-
not even enjoying it because there's just there's not a vibe. I mean, there are movies that are like manly man movies, and then there's movies that are like for everyone that have guys cast in it kind of thing. But this movie was like that. It was a movie for everyone where it was all women, but you didn't even care or focus on the fact that it was predominantly all women.
Well, it was like with the whole, female Ghostbusters thing. That was just so kind of like, the opposite of this movie and what you're talking about, where it wasn't necessarily girly, but it was just very in your face femininity, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it kind of took it to a cheesy level, whereas this was very much so like I walked out of the theater and my subconscious self was just like, I'm ready to go kick some butt, as a woman. Like, I was ready to go learn how to fight.
You were watching those Hunter scenes like, I gotta train.
Yep. Who do I train with? Can I do this at home? Does YouTube have a how-to video on these?
It's the same kind of thing where like they wanted to do the Oceans movie, but like all female Oceans. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I felt that movie kind of walks the line.
It does walk the line.
It's also a different genre. Like it's a comedy, and it almost tips to being cheesy, but it stays positive, But like with the Ghostbusters, I think that was just, I don't know. It was like we're all women, but they pushed it that it's all women instead of just letting it be like, we're just going to do it with women. Okay. They're like, it's women. It's women. It's about women. Like, okay.
I love that the subtlety of this, like as far as that goes, and honestly, it impacted me more as a woman. Like I said, like I walked out of there kind of even proud in some aspects. Like, it was kind of cool.
I enjoyed it, and like you and I've talked before. Like I have a hard time sometimes when they get these women, female characters, and they try to tell me that they're badass.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell me that they're these awesome butt kickers, and I don't believe it. But this movie, I believed every one of those women were capable and did what they could do.
Oh, they were so cool.
I mean,
Black Canary was probably a favorite.
I very much enjoyed her. Like I had no expectations for her. I had not seen her anything that I know of. I liked the character. So, like, I had no expectations for her. And I walked out very thoroughly addressing what? I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's getting late. I very much enjoyed her portrayal of the character. And this movie is very much it is a start of the Birds of Prey. Like, it sprinkles the seeds.
It does, for sure.
It's not over him. It's not trying to be anything more. That's why I said, like, it's very interesting that you almost thought it would be like Harley Quinn with the Birds of Prey or something, because they're like slip in the background. And I very much would like to see a sequel be like the Birds of Prey versus Gotham City Sirens or something. Based on where this movie goes. And yeah, it was really enjoyable. We're not going to spoil anything other than you'll have a good time.
It was fun.
Like I said, it is R. It does take advantage of the R rating. And I mean, that's all for now. We'll talk more when we can actually spoil the crap out of this thing and really break it down. Good night, everybody. So that was Junia and I's quick reference. Look forward to hearing our thoughts as we do a full spoiler movie review with the rest of the crew here soon. And remember, look up in the sky. And sadly, Superman wasn't in this movie or mentioned.